So another thing that we need to be able to do when we're doing geometry in the coordinate plane is recognize a shape and present evidence for how you know it is that kind of shape. So see this shape I made here called ABCD? It's a quadrilateral. You could probably tell what kind of quadrilateral it is, but let's come up with some evidence. I even have the coordinates here, but I don't really need the coordinates to find this evidence. What I want to know are a couple things. I want to know the slope of the sides, and I want to know the length of the sides. That's where I'm going to start. So see these long sides, BC and AD? They're going down 1 and over 3. I think the slope of that is negative 1/3. And the slope of this side is also negative 1/3. And if two sides have the same slope, that means they're parallel. So if these two sides are parallel, then this is at least a parallelogram. And AB goes up 3 and over 1, so that means the slope here is positive 3 over 1, and the slope here goes up 3 and over 1. So look at that. We have parallel sides, which means that this is at least a parallelogram. But the other thing is, if sides have a negative reciprocal slope, negative 1/3 and positive 3 over 1 are negative reciprocals. That means that each of these corners is a 90-degree angle. So now you can see I have enough evidence to say that this is a rectangle, because rectangles have 90-degree angles. The other thing I'd like to know is what's the length of each side? And I can use that distance formula. Well, this goes up 3 and over 1, and 3 squared is 9, and 1 squared is 1, and so I know that the length of AB is the square root of 10. 9 plus 1 is 10. And CD is the same. It goes up 3 over 1. So CD, the length of CD is also the square root of 10. BC, it looks like it goes down 2 and over 6. So the length of BC is, let's see here, 4 plus 36. 2 squared plus 6 squared, that's 40. So it's the square root of 40. And AD also goes down 2 and over 6. So AD is also the square root of 40. So now I know that the opposite sides are parallel, the opposite sides are congruent, and the corners are all 90 degrees. That's enough information, more than enough, to say that this is a rectangle. I could say negative reciprocal slopes mean 90-degree angles. Therefore, I know it's a rectangle. The other thing I want to be able to do is find the perimeter and the area of this shape. Now, the perimeter of the shape is just the square root of 10 plus the square root of 40 plus the square root of 10 plus the square root of 40. I could say it's 2 times the square root of 10, the perimeter, plus 2 times the square root of 40. I did this on my calculator earlier. That's just about 19. It's like 18.97 units distance all the way around there. And you just use a calculator to do that. The area is the base times the height. And the length of the base is the square root of 40. And the length of the height is the square root of 10. And so I could use a calculator to do this, although this one's pretty easy, because the square root of 40 times the square root of 10 is the square root of 400. And you know what the square root of 400 is? 20. So the area of this is exactly 20 square units. So try to classify those shapes and find the area of any shapes that you can, but you should be able to find the perimeter of all the shapes.